life.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the Moonriver Grant Hackathon NFT workshop with Pinata. We're so happy to have you here this morning or this afternoon or this evening, wherever it is in your time zone. We try to make these scheduled so that we can hit as many time zones as possible. But we'll always have like a replay available on YouTube, on Moonbeam Network, and also on the Door Hacks YouTube channel. So you can watch this workshop, at your convenience. So I just want to go over the NFT bounties that we have first, and we'll do a quick introduction to kind of the hackathon itself. So the Moonriver Grant Hackathon is a virtual hackathon dedicated to Moonriver. It's taking place over a period of about 2 months. And we have a lot of exciting bounties, but there's also a lot of flexibility for you. So we have a total of $150,000 in prizes. That's $100,000 for judged bounties and $50,000 in the form of quadratic funding. So that's people's choice bounties. And you may be familiar with the way quadratic funding works through applications like Gitcoin, but it's essentially the application that gets the most distributed number of votes and support from the community gets an exponentially larger share of the matching pool that's provided. So of that $50,000. This can be any submission. It does not have to be specific to a particular bounty, but we have $100,000 of judged bounties, and NFTs make up a huge portion of that. So I just wanted to show kind of the breakdown here. A full 20% of the bounties are NFT focused, and going into some more specifics about the bounties themselves. The first one of the two NFT bounties is an NFT Showcase DApp. So the idea here is that, I love collecting, various different NFTs, but I'm not super maybe keen on like sharing them, right? Because it's kind of hard for me to share them, right? I don't know if I want to just send somebody my address, or if I want to be very, conspicuous about sharing these different types of NFTs, and it's kind of hard for people to access them. So the idea for this is that if you could build a user-friendly showcase application for your NFTs. And so instead of sharing a link which says something like mynfts.com/address and then have a whole address at the end, instead having something more user-friendly where a user can say, pick a username and then display certain NFTs here. Now I'm kind of displaying, kind of the requirements, or kind of the idea, the minimum, base ideas here in terms of, you should build an application that allows users to showcase their NFTs on Moonriver and show as many collections, as possible. And then also displaying relevant NFT metadata and traits such as rarity, supply, things like that, token ID. But if you want to go, if you want to go deeper and you want to build something that's more complex, you might be looking at different ideas, such as having the owner of the NFT be able to specify whether they want that particular one visible on this showcase, right? Perhaps you could allow the owner to hide a certain NFT, or maybe only display a couple, or maybe pick the certain ones that they want, actually displayed. And so that's one, and we have a first place prize of $7,000 for that, and a second place prize of $2,500 for that. And then the next NFT bounty is an NFT creation and deployment DApp. So the idea for this is that for non-technical users who want to create NFTs, that you have a wonderful UI and a simple process for creating and deploying these different NFTs. So kind of the two different use cases that we had in mind would be, maybe you have a single one-off NFT that a user wants to come and just create a single one, and maybe you have like a multi-purpose, general contract that just creates a new NFT from a shared contract of NFTs. Then the second might be that a user wants to create a whole run of NFTs. They want to create like an actual specific contract that's just for them, and they want to specify, they want to create 100 different NFTs, and then they'd have to upload, the image data and the metadata, and specifying any characteristics that they'd like to specify there. So key here is also having a transfer functionality, right? Because a lot of users, want to perhaps transfer these NFTs to their friends, or they want to transfer them to a separate address. So having that built in to the web UI is certainly key. And Pinata is absolutely an essential element of this bounty. And that's why I'm so excited about this. And if you're creating a new NFT project, or you're creating a bounty like this, users, you have to have a place in order to store your NFT media and your metadata. And the base case scenario is maybe you put this on your website, or you put this on AWS. But that's not a very good idea, and it's not a very decentralized approach. And today I'm joined here by Justin Hunter, who's head of product at Pinata, and I'm very grateful to have him here. We met at ETH Denver back in February, and I'm very excited to have Justin here. And I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Justin. So let me close out of this presentation.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kevin. Appreciate the intro and the kind words about Pinata. Y'all have some awesome bounties here. And I think both of those two bounties, Pinata can help in different ways. And I hope through my talk here, you'll be able to understand a little bit more about how Pinata can help. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll jump into the presentation. I think it was posted in the chat. If you have questions, go ahead and post it in the Ask Questions section, and I will get to those after the presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll jump into the presentation. So I want to talk a little bit about Pinata, just quickly give some background. For those that don't know, Pinata is built on top of IPFS, the Interplanetary File System. IPFS is a peer-to-peer storage protocol. It's built by Protocol Labs. It's been around for a while. It's been pretty much the #1 tool for the NFT space outside of the blockchains themselves, right? It's been the tool that NFT projects have used to store and retrieve media and metadata. Pinata started in 2018 with the goal of making it easy to use IPFS. IPFS is very protocol centric. It's not exactly easy to use if you're not a developer. And so Pinata got started making it easier for developers to use. And then as we have matured as a company, we've also started making it easier for non-technical creators. But at our roots, Pinata loves developers, loves working with developers. We try to make very easy APIs for developers. And I hope you'll make use of some of these APIs during the hackathon. Anytime I talk about Pinata, I like to talk about what makes us special in the NFT space. Because we don't have a token, because we're not a blockchain, we have a unique perspective on NFTs. We come at things from the file side, right? When you think of NFTs, you've got tokens, you've got all of these layers, and we'll talk about that in a second. But Pinata is always focused on the media. So that lets us look at the entire NFT ecosystem through this different lens. It's this lens of not buying and selling and trading. It's not about marketplaces. To us, it's about the experience. It's the experience of getting that content uploaded, getting that media stored in a way that is open and portable and verifiable, but then also making sure that it is served back to whoever needs to consume it. If you're an NFT creator and you're selling an NFT or just displaying that NFT, you want to make sure that that content is reliable, that it's fast. We're going to talk a lot about speed and performance here. You want to make sure it's the best possible experience. And so that's Pinata's entire focus, is to give creators, whether it's NFTs or something else, the best tools possible so that they can provide experiences to their buyers, their fans, consumers of their content, experiences comparable to Web 2 technology. And I said I was going to talk a little bit about how we view NFTs. I mentioned that we have the unique perspective on the media side, but we also have started adopting this perspective of what an NFT actually is based on conversations with customers over the last 2 to 3 years. A lot of people think of the NFT as just the token, right? The token is that thing that you buy. It's that thing that you transfer. It goes up on marketplaces. But really, the token is just a mechanism for distribution. The token is the thing that allows you at scale to transfer ownership back and forth. The thing that is important, the thing that goes into that token, are all of these other layers. And so we think about the relationship of an NFT. who owns what? What are the requirements? Who, like, is the creator supposed to continue maintaining the media? Does the buyer, the current owner, have to maintain that media? What is the relationship between the holder of the token and the thing that token points to, whether it's a video, an image file, anything, right? And of course, there's the token layer, and then there's the metadata layer. The metadata both points to the media assets, but also gives you more information about the token. I think we think a lot of NFTs in terms of these PFP projects, these profile picture projects, where metadata often points to attributes like how rare is this particular attribute? What color hair does this particular image have? But the metadata within an NFT can be so much more. And it's an important part of the overall layering of these NFTs. And we already talked about the file. That file can be anything. It could be an HTML file. It can be a video, a 3D object, whatever. That file is really the thing people are paying for, the thing people are participating in the network for. And this last layer is one that we don't see talked about enough, honestly. It's licensing. If you want to, let's use Bored Apes as an example. Bored Ape Yacht Club decided that they were going to give everyone the rights to do whatever they wanted with their apes, right? And this is how derivative projects have been created from Bored Apes. But that licensing wasn't actually encoded into the NFTs themselves. It can be, though. That could be through the metadata. It could be through a separate pointer file. It could be encoded however you want. And if you do that, then you have all of the elements of the NFT in one place, rather than having to, say, go to Yuga Labs website to figure out what the licensing rules are, instead of having to go to Larva Labs when they were still in control of CryptoPunks and the Meebits. You could have that in the actual NFT itself and have it all at your fingertips, right? This is something we'd like to see explored more. And that's why we say that NFTs are layers. You don't necessarily have to have all of these layers to make up an NFT, but they are important layers. So feel free to scan this. Feel free to go to the website there at the bottom of the screen. This is we're talking about unique perspectives that Pinata has on NFTs, and this is another one. You'll often hear this argument of permanence versus preservation. It won't be presented that way. It'll be presented like this. It'll go, well, what happens if my file, or if I choose not to continue putting my content on IPFS? It's called pinning when it's on IPFS. What happens if I choose not to continue pinning my content on IPFS? Or what happens if the creator that I bought this from chooses not to continue pinning that file? People will then point to, well, maybe it should be permanent, and maybe it should. We're not saying things shouldn't be permanent or should or should not be permanent. But what we are saying is there is a difference between permanence and preservation. IPFS is not a blockchain. IPFS is a peer-to-peer storage protocol that gives you optionality. You as the creator or you as the owner of an asset, of a media file, can choose how long that thing lives. And I think that's really important. I think preservation is more powerful than forced permanence. And that's what excites us so much about IPFS as a protocol. Preservation is the idea that a community of people, that could be one person, it could be many people, believes something should exist and continues to maintain that thing. The Mona Lisa continues to be maintained because a community of people have decided it's worth saving, it's worth keeping around. Whereas if I think about, some of the essays I wrote in high school, or maybe my first tweet, I don't know, or something like my first Facebook post when Facebook first came out, should that be permanent? Should that be forced on me as a permanent record? Probably not. I don't think so, at least. But if I felt strongly that it should, maybe I preserve that and let it live on. So we think of, the media that's tied to these NFTs. They should only be as permanent as somebody wants them to be. And that could mean it lives on forever. It could mean it only lives on for a certain amount of time. There's a lot of power in optionality, and IPFS gives you that optionality. And then the final thing that I'll talk about here, as far as like Pinata's unique perspective on NFTs and media, is that oftentimes in the NFT space and Web3 in general, the performance of things is the last thing anyone thinks about, and it should be the first thing. Things have gotten better over the last, I'd say, 3-4 years in the crypto space, but when you compare crypto to traditional Web 2 technologies, things are slower. The user experience isn't as good. I feel like I'm saying the same things I said in 2017 about user experience, so you know that we still have a long ways to go. And part of that user experience, at least in the NFT space, is the performance of the media that you're consuming when you're when you're looking at an NFT marketplace. You're looking at an NFT in your wallet or on your website or wherever this media is displayed. It doesn't have to be slow. This has been Pinata's biggest focus over the last 2 years. We solved the storage part of NFT media, storing it on IPFS through Pinata. That's a solved problem as far as we're concerned. The next step after you have solved that is solving the performance problem. How do you deliver a 1 gigabyte video in the same way that YouTube or Netflix might deliver that to the browser? How do you deliver 3D objects? How do you deliver images that just load instantly? Those are the things Pinata has been focusing on last 1.5 to 2 years, and it's out now. We have dedicated IPFS gateways. Creators can sign up, get a dedicated gateway. Those dedicated gateways have a global CDN, meaning that content is cached all around the world and it loads instantly, right? So if you have a video file or an image or an audio file, the people that are receiving that file get the experience that they've become accustomed to, right? We live in a world where people, like it or not, they're coming to the Web3 space from Twitter, from YouTube, from Instagram, and they have expectations, and it's on us. It's not on them to lower their expectations. It's on us to rise to their expectations, and Pinata is making that possible for developers and creators everywhere. So I think it's an important thing to highlight. Because we have done all this, because we have this perspective on the NFT space, because we're blockchain agnostic, we've been able to capture 80 to 90% of the entire NFT space. It seems like a large number, but that's not hyperbole. We really have captured that much of the space. A lot of this is not just our unique perspective, but also just being there. We have been writing about NFTs since the company started in 2018. There wasn't a ton of interest, right? 2019, maybe there was a little bit more interest, and we just kept writing about ideas in the NFT space. 2020, we started getting some traction, right? NFTs started taking off. And then in 2021, we saw a boom. It was finally there, and people finally caught up. And because of that, we've been able to capture this large percentage of the entire NFT space. You can see some of our customers there, but just to highlight the range of types of customers, we have NFT marketplaces using us. We have, I mentioned profile picture projects. We have a bunch of profile picture projects using us. We have individual artists using us. They might mint a single NFT and they use us for their photo or their video. And we even have brands, large brands that are from the traditional Web 2 space that are experimenting in Web 3. They come to Pinata for their media needs within this NFT space. So we're there, we're powering a huge chunk of the NFT space. All of this is to say we know what we're doing, and we hope we can help you as well. To give you a sense of what that equates to, that 80 to 90%, these numbers are from February. We don't have March's numbers yet, but we served over 2 petabytes of data in February alone. That's people requesting content from these dedicated IPFS gateways that I mentioned. And that was across 2 billion requests. That's in a single month, and we're growing month over month. It's been crazy to see, honestly, but it continues to increase as more and more people come into the NFT space, both from crypto native environments and from the more traditional Web 2 environments. So we've been able to both capture a large chunk of the market, but also deliver on our promise, which is we're going to serve that data. We're going to make sure it's fast. We're going to make sure it's reliable. We're going to give people the best possible experience, but we're going to do it behind the scenes. We're going to put that all on you so that you look good as the creator of these NFTs, as the person serving this media to your fans, your consumers, the people buying that content. I think it's important though to talk about open versus private media and the IPFS network as a whole. I think Kevin made a really good point about S3 at the beginning here is in the intro. Amazon S3 is a great storage provider in the the traditional cloud world. The problem with it is it's not immutable, meaning I can go and upload a file and give you a link. I can then change that file. The link doesn't change though. So I can give you a cat photo and you're like, oh, this is a great cat. A day later, you open up that same link, it might be a dog. You can't do that with IPFS. IPFS is immutable. Every single file that is uploaded gets a content identifier, a hash of the actual content. If even a pixel of that content changes, there's going to be a new content identifier. So you can't just swap out media without people knowing. People will know, and that's especially important in the NFT space, where people might be paying anywhere from a couple $100 to a couple $1,000 for this media. It's important that it is what the creator says it is. That's all on the public network though. IPFS at its core is public, which is really helpful, really important for the NFT space. For most of your projects as you're working through this hackathon, this is all you need. You need the public network to be able to display that data, to upload that data, retrieve it back for your gallery or whatever else you're building. But there's another layer to this. There's the private media layer that you don't tend to think about with NFTs until you talk to artists, until you talk to people that are like, well, how do I keep my high-res image that I just sold only accessible to the person that owns the NFT? If it's on a public network like IPFS, if it's on the public IPFS network, anybody can access that. And so Pinata developed what we call Pinata Submarine. This is available along with the same plans that give you the dedicated gateway. And what it is it's private IPFS. You get most of the benefits of IPFS. The one thing you don't get is that public distributed network because it's private, right? We're not broadcasting this content to the public network. Instead, you get a private IPFS node. When you upload content, you say, I want it to be submarined. You get a content identifier, so that content is still verifiable, but you are then in control of who can access it. And as a developer, this is really powerful because there's an endless number of ways that you can use our APIs to grant access to people for this content. So a piece of content is submarined. As a developer, you just use our existing APIs to say, well, if somebody owns this particular NFT, I'm going to serve the file. Or if this person does X, Y, Z, I'm going to serve the file. It gives you an endless number of options to decide how you want to unlock that media. But the really powerful thing here is the media is still verifiable. If I, as a creator, upload a file, I submarine it, I make it private, I get a content identifier. I can share that content identifier with the world or a single person and say, hey, when you do get access to this file, it's going to be the exact same content identifier. You can independently verify that the file I eventually give you access to matches that content identifier. So we think that's a really novel and interesting layer that gets added into the NFT space. We've seen the desire for this functionality, this Pinata Submarine functionality, from literally about 18 months of conversations with customers. I'm going to talk about why we call it Pinata Submarine, but I want to make sure I hammer home what it is. So Pinata Submarine, as I mentioned, is private IPFS. It's not on the public network. It's not decentralized. That's one thing I get questions on all the time. It's a trade-off, right? You get the trade-off of private data or decentralized data. When you're choosing Submarine, it's private and verifiable, but not decentralized. So always keep that in the back of your mind whenever you're trying to make decisions on what you should be using. But the reason that we call it Pinata Submarine, at least the reason that I tell people we call it Pinata Submarine, is just like a submarine, the content lives below the surface, below the public layer, and it is only exposed whenever you want that content to be exposed. So a submarine lives below the surface, only comes up whenever somebody wants it to come up. Same thing with this content. I think it's a it's a really powerful feature for the NFT space and for creators in general. So I mentioned that we built this because we had talked to customers for literally about 18 months straight. And we went out and we talked to individual artists first, and they almost universally brought up to us this concept of public data. They were confused by the fact that their NFTs, the media associated with their NFTs, was totally public. They're coming from a different world where if they're selling a physical piece or even a digital print, it goes to an individual person, it hangs in their wall. But when you when you put this out there on chain and on the public IPFS network, that's where they started getting confused. These are real quotes from some of our conversations with customers. And the way people were getting around this is they would go to marketplaces on Ethereum, like OpenSea or Rarible, and they would do a low res image for their NFT, and then they would use the unlockable media section of these marketplaces. That unlockable media, mind you, is specific to the marketplace. It's not on IPFS. It's not part of the smart contract, nothing. And what they would do is they would often put a Dropbox link in there. And I don't know about any of you, but if you have ever gotten a Dropbox link shared to you, it's a terrible experience. Somebody giving you a Dropbox link to view a photo or play a video, it's a horrible, horrible experience. And that's what these artists were resorting to. So we started getting to work on Pinata Submarine to solve some of these pain points. As we did that, we realized, well, there's actually a bigger market here, not just the individual creators, but entire NFT communities need token-gated media. They were building these projects like Bored Ape Yacht Club and a derivative project called Jenkins the Valet. They were building token-gated experiences, but they were doing it in this hacked together way. They wanted to focus on their core product, not have to hack together a solution to token gating media. And you've probably seen or experienced token gated Discord channels. That's, at the end of the day, all that is authentication. The hard part is then layering in private media. And so I think that's the thing that we were really excited to solve, is how do we token gate media? And Pinata Submarine does that. It doesn't just require token gating. You could do whatever you want, as I mentioned. But one of the main use cases that we've seen of Pinata Submarine is token gating that media, saying, hey, if you own this particular token, you get access to this exclusive media just for token holders. It's a pretty cool implementation, and I think it's going to expand over time. And I mentioned a little bit ago, Pinata at its core was built originally as a developer tool. We love developers. We may be leaning more into helping non-technical creators get onboarded into the Web3 space now, but nothing's going to change about our APIs and our hopefully very usable APIs in our documentation. We always want developers to be able to come to Pinata and have a great experience. Where you're going to find both the documentation for how to use Pinata's core APIs, which is uploading content to the public IPFS network, getting started with dedicated gateways, serving that content, all of that's going to be at docs.pinata.cloud. But also in there is going to be a link to our Pinata Submarine documentation. If you decide, hey, this is a cool feature, I'm going to try to use this in the bounty or in the future, that documentation's there. It's all programmatically available. You can submarine content, meaning upload it to the private IPFS node. You can generate access tokens to that submarined content. You can do all of that through the APIs that we've made available. And I do hope you'll check this out. I think at the very least, leveraging Pinata's APIs to get your media uploaded for these bounties, and then using the dedicated gateways to make sure the experience of loading that content, I think that's going to make night and day difference for your projects. But if you want to take it a step further and use Pinata Submarine, I think you should experiment with it. I think it'll be a lot of fun. And also, I'm available to help anybody with this. So we have a support team. We also have myself. I'm going to jump out here in a second and answer any questions that may have popped up in the chat channel. But I did want to also mention that for anyone participating in the hackathon, if you'd like to use the dedicated gateways or Pinata Submarine, it is part of our professional plan, which is $20 a month. But if you reach out to me, I'll be sure to give you a month off so that you can at least experiment with it, see if it's a fit for your project. All you have to do, my Twitter's there at Pinata, or I'm sorry, at Polluter of Minds. But you can also jump into our Discord. You can email me, justin@pinata.cloud. Just let me know you're participating. I'll get you a month off. Don't let that slow you down. Go sign up. You don't have to, there's no payment. You'll put your credit card information in, but no payments taken out right away. But go to get started with it. We'll give you a month free to see if it works for you. I hope this was helpful. I'm going to jump into the chat to see what questions everybody had. And I guess I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Hopefully, if I can find the button. There we go. Let's see, what questions do we have here? Will the first NFT Pinata and Moonbeam created? That might be what will be. Can you tell me, or can you come up with a line of NFTs in honor of Ukrainian warriors? So these aren't really questions for Pinata. It sounds like these are questions for you as hackathon participants, which is great. I think you guys can do those things if you want to. I guess, Kevin, I guess there's no more questions unless I'm missing any.
No, you're exactly right. This was a fantastic workshop. I mean, there's so much that Pinata offers. You know, I was, you know, I kind of had the Pinata 2020, you know, so I knew exactly, you know, what Pinata's like first, you know, entry into this was. But there's so much that's happened since then, in terms of speed, in terms of decentralization, Submarine. I mean, there's so much that you have to offer, APIs, and so you know, I'm sure that developers will find this useful, especially for these NFT focused bounties. But maybe you're working on something that's totally different from the bounties, right? Maybe could be useful in another hackathon. And okay, here's a great question. So as a beginner, is there an official tutorial of how to use and how to build using Pinata?
Yeah, so I don't know if we would call it an official tutorial. It's more of a an aggregated tutorial. We'll call it that. If you go to Medium, here I'll put it in the chat. Our developer blog is at medium.com/Pinata. There is pretty much a tutorial for literally everything that you could want to do with NFTs in there. If you don't see the thing that you want or you still have questions, definitely reach out to me. I love talking about this stuff.
Amazing. And you said that the best way to contact you if they want that 1 month of the professional plan is to DM you on Twitter?
Either Twitter or email me, jump in the, I don't care, any of the ways.
Cool. Yeah. There's plenty of ways. Yeah, yep, whatever is convenient.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Justin. It means a lot. Thank you for your time today. And it was a thrilling presentation, and we appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Good luck to everybody in the hackathon.
Exactly. Good luck to everyone. And we'll see. We have a couple more workshops this week. So we have a workshop on Wednesday with Covalent, and then Thursday for XCM. So that should be very exciting. We'll have the exact times like in the Discord and also posted on Twitter. So make sure you sign up for those, and you can also email me and get notified about those. So thank you.